On we are here. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the channel. It is Tuesday, and you know what that means. Time to continue our series. It used to be Tuesday Tao, doing the wisdom of the Tao, change your thoughts, change your life. But we finished that series, and that's up on the shelf now. We are continuing our series in Mysteries of the Unexplained, ladies and gentlemen. And we've gone all the way beyond the walls of time through prophecies and premonitions, seers and oracles, and glimpses of the future, cognition of the future, and the possibilities of how this may be possible. A short note usually seemed to have something to do with an altered state of consciousness, whether it be spiritual, mystical, psychic, in different ways, but very interesting nonetheless. But now we find ourselves on the next section, entitled Anomalies. Well, what would you call an anomaly? What is an anomaly when it comes to the mysteries of the unexplained? Now, I got this book from my grandfather when he passed, and I find it so excellent that we're doing this now as a series here because he must have read this book at some time in the past. And this is an excellent way for opening the mind to asking questions about things that if you're somebody who doesn't question a lot in the world, which I do not believe my grandfather was. I believe he was like me, a great questioner. However, this opens the doors. So, once again, reading for purposes of teaching and commentary and expanding the mind so that through an increased awareness, we can hopefully increase the quality of our lives and the lives of those around us. Anomalies. Any departure from the expected arrangement, general rule, or used method is considered to be an anomaly and, as such, is dismissed as largely suspect by the scientific community. This, however, does not keep the evidence of inexplicable events and relationships from cropping up in a wondrous variety of ways and in a wide range of places. The world is a museum of anomalous history, filled with the curious and the incredible. In this chapter, let us take a look around. In one corner, Sayre, Pennsylvania, for example, are found the skulls of giants with small horns protruding from their brows. In another spot, Clearwater, Minnesota, a burial mound discloses 7 skeletons with double rows of teeth in the upper and lower jaws. Meanwhile, staring blankly from a ledge of rock in Casper, Wyoming, is a mummified human 14 inches tall. So we have giants, we have skeletons with different sets of teeth, and we have even very little tiny beings that all have physical evidence in our reality. But, as it said earlier, dismissed as largely suspect by the academic and scientific community. While more and more of this has been discovered since the publication of this book, probably being back in the 70s or the 80s. However, it is still something that most people don't seem to have as a common understanding of their awareness of our shared reality here. Now, some would argue that we all exist within our own realities, and there's kind of a interplay or an interconnection between them, which is what causes the collective consciousness or our shared reality. But that's a different subject, and we have talked about that before on this channel. However, let us continue. Nearby, Antelope Spring, Utah, is the imprint of a sandaled foot that trod on a living trilobite. Not surprising, perhaps, except for the fact that trilobites came extinct about 280 million years ago. Not far away in Glen Rose, Texas, humans and dinosaurs have left adjacent tracks. Another impossible, quote unquote, relationship since dinosaurs vanished some 60 million years before man is thought to have ever existed. Now, these questions often give us the inclination to question our own history. And I think that's really where the great debate comes in, is when we begin looking, ladies and gentlemen, for evidence of the old world and what really may have been our past, rather than the story that we've been given in the last 100 to 200 years about our entire history. But that, once again, is a different subject. I'll just leave it at that. I really have no clue where we're going to go today, so thank you for being here. We're just checking out some anomalies in the mysteries of the unexplained. Across the ocean, Rutherford, Scotland, a piece of gold threaded. Wait, what? A piece of gold thread. Gold thread protrudes from a solid chunk of newly quarried rock. How could it possibly have gotten there? Far to the south, Mali, West Africa, a farming people impart to visitors their ancient knowledge of Sirius B, a star people. But this star, they're probably talking about the Dogon tribe here. The Dogons are very fascinating people because their knowledge of the heavens, as many ancient peoples had before any of our modern astronomers and astrologers and all of this discovered the stars, and especially those that you need that you need heavy equipment. So supposedly, however, the farming people impart to visitors their ancient knowledge of Sirius B, a star invisible to the naked eye and only just discovered by astronomers. In the meantime, far to the east, in the Ural Mountains of, this dates this book, the USSR, the world's oldest living creatures are suddenly reanimated beneath the eyes of scientists after being locked in a piece of ore for 250 million years. The curators and scholars of the world are predisposed, ladies and gentlemen, to look askance at this collection of improbable objects. Inscribed above the entrance to our hypothetical museum could be the letters from a mysterious alphabet, perhaps Phoenician, that would translate as abandon certitude, all ye who enter. I love that. It's like forget everything you know and everything you've been told about everything. When you are ready to enter into the museum of reality. The Phoenicians, though, that being a very deep, deep rabbit hole. If you haven't done any research on that and the hidden history on that, or at least just the silliness of the history there's some interesting things, ladies and gentlemen. Now, as rational beings, we tend to feel uneasy with things when we can't really explain it. But in the future, as has been true in the past, some of our most fondly held beliefs may be shattered beyond repair. The things that we think and that we've been told are Nothing to worry about. Don't look there. Oh, that's just, what did they say? Inexplicable. It's dismissed as suspect. But really, ladies and gentlemen, we must abandon our certitude and open our minds. As we go on, as we go on some kind of journey in our lives of trying to discover, as Hermes Trismegistus put it, thrice greatest, the Egyptian sage god Thoth, that we must have a pure philosophy and a spiritual striving through a constant contemplation to attain true knowledge of the nature of the things that are, or the nature of reality. And so this means asking the deeper questions and then pondering, contemplating, ruminating, meditating, whatever that be for you, just thinking about it. So that way we can get to an understanding. Anomalous findings are many and diverse. Those found on the following pages that we'll be going through in the continuing episodes of this series, which I've been having fun doing, so hopefully you are as well, ladies and gentlemen, are mysterious tracks, strange skeletons, living animals locked in stone, and out-of-place artifacts, and unaccountable knowledge. The discoveries are first grouped regionally, moving from the north to the south, then chronologically. Very interesting. We begin, though, with mysterious tracks from the past. A highly detailed footprint, thought to be that of a young boy, was found fossilized in clay stone on the east bank of the Connecticut River, just south of Hadley, Massachusetts, in 1852. Also preserved in the clay were tracks of birds, four-footed animals, and snails. Even the impressions of raindrops were preserved and were not entirely obliterated by the foot of the boy. All the stray and the lines upon the sole of the foot appeared distinctly. Alongside the boy's footprint were those of a crow, and the pattern of skin on the bird's feet could be seen clearly. The bed of clay stone bearing these imprints lay under some 20 feet of alluvial sand until it was exposed by the current of the streams. This comes to us from the American Journal of Science and Arts, 12/19, 391, 96, May 1855. A large stone bearing the perfect imprint of a human foot 14.5 inches long was shown to members of the Ohio State Academy of Science in 1896. The stone had been taken from a hill 4 miles north of Parkersburg some 20 years earlier. At the summit of a big hill in Cumberland Mountains in Jackson County, Kentucky, is a layer of Carboniferous sandstone. In the 1880s, it was crossed by a wagon trail that in time broke up the surface of the rock. When the resulting debris was cleared away, a series of tracks was discovered in this Carboniferous layer about 300 million years old. There were imprints of bear, something resembling a large horse, 2 tracks of human being, good size, toes well spread, and very distinctly marked. The prints were examined by Professor J.F. Brown of Berea College, Kentucky, the American Antiquarian. This comes to us from January 1885. So the first couple there just seems to be tracks found in old stone deposits. However, this one being very, very old. In 1938, Dr. Wilbur Burroughs, head of geology department at Berea College, Kentucky, announced that he had discovered 10 humanoid footprints in Carboniferous sandstone on a farm belonging to Mr. O. Finnell in the hills in the northern part of Rockcastle County. The prints were 9.5 inches long, 6 inches across the toes, and the length of the stride was about 18 inches. No marks of a tail or 4 feet were found. So once again, 10 humanoid footprints. We're not really sure what kind of being or humanoid we are dealing with here. Photomicrographs and infrared photography revealed no signs of carving or artificial marking in and around the prints, and a microscopic count of sand grains. Geez, a microscopic count of sand grains? That's intensive, ladies and gentlemen. Indicated that material within the prints had been impacted. This would be the natural result of a print made by the pressure of a human foot, but could in no way be duplicated by carving. The rock in which the prints were found was estimated to be some 250 million years old. In recent years, the prints were unfortunately destroyed by vandals. Brad Steiger, Mysteries of Time and Space. Destroyed by vandals? Huh? Well, who were those vandals and what was the real purpose of destroying the evidence of such anomalous reality, unaccounted history that goes against the very history that we've been told and sold currently? So, destroyed by vandals. Oh, that was nothing. Look over here. Don't worry about this. It's crazy what they do to us. And then, nobody really, it's just kind of like a no big deal. We're like, oh, yeah, like there is these anomalies and questions that really break down the foundations of reality and everything we've been told about history and change everything. But don't worry about that. It's just not that big of a deal. It's like, wait a minute. To me and some people that are deep thinkers, they're like, this has to be the most important thing. I mean, come on. If we're talking about we've been around for 250 million years, what the heck have we learned, forgotten, created, destroyed? Where have we gone and returned from? These are all the greatest questions. I think it always goes back to the Yuga cycles and the great year of the golden ages and the silver, bronze, dark ages. Not talking about metals, but talking about quality of, society, quality of humanity. But the rising and falling. With that being said, let me continue. Sorry, I like to ramble every now and then. If you've been here before, you know that. And if you're here right now joining me, thank you. I appreciate you so much. So, 250 million years old. Now we come to what is called a carnival of horses. Bears, turkeys, and six-toed humans. Six-toed humans. How many toes do you have, ladies and gentlemen? Leave that in the comments below, because that's not a common question. We all just assume. I'm kind of being funny here, of course, but we all just assume everybody has the number of toes that we're supposed to have, but really, what is that? Once again, we're just having some fun and keeping our minds open here and looking into anomalies and the mysteries of the unexplained and our anomalous history. But six-toed humans left its tracks in what is now solid rock near the headwaters of the Tennessee River. A few miles south of Brayston, North Carolina, according to Josiah Priest, a 19th century writer on antiquities, The strange human tracks included one of a giant, 16 inches long, 13 inches wide at the toes, and 5 inches wide at the ball of the heel. Six-toed giants. Are we talking about Nephilim? Are we talking about others who lived among us? I mean, when you look at cathedrals or, state buildings sometimes, some of these buildings where the doors and the rooms are far beyond any ordinary practical usage or size. I mean, and if we went back further in time and materials were more scarce and, the ability for finances and organization and all of the things that it takes to create great works of construction or building were limited. The further we go back into the past, at least as far as we're told, we had less technological ability to do things. So it would make sense, right, to do things easier. However, we see the opposite as we look into the past. That no, they didn't do things easier. They actually did it way harder than we do it today and at much higher quality. I mean, the detail is magnificent. But once again, the size of some of these doorways and doors in grand halls, like what practical usage? Like when you're thinking of doing things reasonably, it goes out of that area. So, anyways, I'll leave that to something else. That just kind of comes from different research, looking into old architecture and some of the stories we're told about a lot of these old, magnificent, beautiful buildings that are often nowadays just destroyed or discounted, discredited, dismissed like these anomalies as, oh, it's not a big deal. But is it a big deal when we find the footprints of six-toed giants, but clearly similar to that of our own human footprints, ladies and gentlemen? These are the questions. These are the questions. A pair of human footprints once grasped a slab of limestone on the west bank of the Mississippi River. At St. Louis, in 1816 or 1817, the slab was quarried from its position and removed by Mr. George Rapay to the village of Harmony, now New Harmony, in Indiana. The prints were 10.5 inches long and 4 inches wide at the toes, 6 1/4 apart at the heels, and 13.5 inches apart at the toes, reported Henry A. Schoolcraft. The toes being very much spread and the foot flattened in a manner that happens to those who have been habituated to a great length of time without shoes. Of course, we probably just started wearing. I mean, this is another thing you don't really think about, but like, when did we start wearing shoes? It's really just recently. Like, we weren't going around with the kind of shoes we have today a long time ago. I mean, sure, that might be obvious when you bring it up like that, but what are the implications of that is the point. It's like, what does that mean? And why, then, have we done this? And then you'll get the simple answers from people that don't like to think deeper about things, which is, oh, yeah, we need it. Shoes are better. We're smarter now. We built these great rubber shoes and whatever. It's like, I don't know. That seems to be a cop out to me. I think there was probably a reason we were doing things the way we've been doing them for thousands of years. But then in the 1800s, some great group of top hats decided that everything must be different. We need progress. Was it really progress? I don't know. Maybe that question couldn't have ever been asked had we not gotten ourselves to where we are now? It's interesting, though, to look at the things that we've done and to begin to ask questions and then question answers, more importantly. Now, let me continue. The toes being spread apart and the foot flattened in a manner that happens to those who have spent a great length of time without shoes. Notwithstanding this circumstance, the prints are strikingly natural, exhibiting every muscular impression and swell of the heels and toes with a precision and faithfulness to nature, which I have not been able to copy with perfect exactness in the present drawing. This, if I could show you, is the present drawing. Once again, a very old book, so we're not worried about the pictures here. Just the ideas. Every appearance will warrant the conclusion that these impressions were made at a time when the rock was soft enough to receive them by pressure, and the marks of the feet are natural and genuine. In the geologic scheme of things here, the limestone hardened about 270 million years ago, but the rocks and prints in it were said to show the same evidence of wear and aging together. Once again, another example of human beings, some form of human beings. And you could say, well, yeah, this was, the Neanderthals, but it's like, come on, man. And once again, quit it with the cop-outs. There's more to reality than just a simple answer that we've been given by the scientific and academic community, because as we've learned, they so often don't want to go where reality actually lies. Like it told us earlier, perhaps if we had a museum of reality, the curators and the scholars of the world are predisposed to look askance at this collection of improbable objects that go against the reality that we've been sold and taught. His story, as some will call it. Inscribed above the entrance of our mystical and our exploratory, maybe mysterious museum of the greater questions, could be the letters of a mysterious alphabet, perhaps Phoenician, that would translate as abandon certitude, all ye who enter here. Another one from 100 million years ago. And then dinosaur tracks along that of human beings. Wild, ladies and gentlemen. These tracks of a three-toed dinosaur and a man were photographed in 1971 at the Paluxy River. A flood in 1979 washed away the man track and eroded the dinosaur's trail. The controversial Paluxy River footprint is measured by geologist Jack Walper, who believes it was made by a bipedal dinosaur dragging his toes as he walked in the mud. Very interesting, ladies and gentlemen. So this here giving us many different examples with evidence that have been recorded and reported, accounted for, ladies and gentlemen, that we not only have existed for thousands of years, hundreds of thousands of years, but that we go back not just 60 million years, at least some form, but 280 million, 300 million. Let's just say, as far as we can go back. It seems to be that there is cycles in this reality and everything repeats itself. And that seems to be a purpose or the function of reality, which has to do with polarities, rhythm, vibration, correspondence, and a few other things that begin to give us an understanding of the microcosm and the macrocosm, or the as above and so below, that which seems to be at an extremely large scale, but then at the same time, we see it in the very structure of an atom. I don't know, ladies and gentlemen, this is just where my mind goes when I'm reading this. I'm very interested to hear what you think. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. I always have fun doing this. Hopefully you get value, ladies and gentlemen. This was a boom to humanity existing more than 200 million years ago in the evidence of anomalies. Well, ladies and gentlemen, mysteries of the unexplained. Remember, though, most importantly, seek to achieve and maintain happiness through enlightenment, through greater awareness and understanding of the nature of reality. So that through this increased awareness and understanding, we can hopefully then use it somehow. I mean, this awareness might be tougher to apply to what I'm going to say here, but hopefully we can then use it somehow to create a greater quality of life for ourselves and for those around us. And remember, the simplest way to think of that is our lives are made up of moments, right now, and then now, and then the next moment, and now. And these moments, ladies and gentlemen, is what makes up our life. So if we can increase the quality of our moments, and then we can begin stacking those up, I mean, it might take effort and practice and diligence and become a lifestyle to teach yourself how to create quality in your moments. But once we can stack that up, ladies and gentlemen, then hopefully, all the things that we've been telling ourselves, oh, I'll finally be happy when I get here and get there. It's like happiness, there is no way to it. It is the way. It is the ability that we create within ourselves through this practice and this work to bring to life. And when we can bring it to life, then all those things we've been telling ourselves, oh, when I get this, or when I have this, then I finally feel better. Or I'll finally be happy when I get that new house. Or it becomes irrelevant. Why? Because then we already are there. And hopefully, the progress and the journey of getting to where we do want to go, which is fine, but the secret is being detached from the outcome and being in the process. And then it's all these things like, oh, when I get that and becomes irrelevant because we already are there. And then the entire journey, hopefully, is wonderful, ladies and gentlemen. All right. I rambled a bit more on that one than I normally do. Also, remember to seek to discover the lost wisdom of the ages and the lost mysteries of our history. All right. Expand the description below the video. There's a more info box. It expands. I have links to the book so you can get it for yourself. It is this big old hard copy too. I like it, and it's not very expensive at all, ladies and gentlemen, which is another thing I love about when you're going to look for a good book and it's not that, you're like, sweet. There's some books out there with a lot of great information, but for some reason they're hundreds of dollars. I guess they don't want everybody to just be getting their hands on these books, but that makes sense. But anyways, expand the description to get the book for yourself so you can put it on your shelf and you can follow along in future episodes as we continue our journey in the mysteries of the unexplained, as well as a link to my Etsy shop and my landscape paintings. And also, remember to give yourself the gift of health. C60 Purple Power, the most powerful antioxidant known to man. Nobel Prize winning, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate your attention and your time. And I thank you so much for being here with me and all the wonderful authors and poets and mystics, philosophers, sages of the ages. Until next time, be the change you want to see, be the example that you want to set. No, 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 no.